And hello, welcome to another edition of the Church Solutions Podcast.
Hi, my name is Steve Lacy.
And my name is Phil Thompson. Nice to have everybody with us again. We do appreciate you spending some time with us every week as we do this podcast with Steve and I, and sometimes we have special guests. Just very quickly, we're a tech company that helps churches and ministries use technology with streaming video, mobile apps, content management things, websites. That's what we've been doing for many years. Way back in 2001, it all started, right, Steve?
That is correct.
Yeah.
All right. So what are we doing today?
So we're going to talk a little bit about tech stuff. We're going to talk about 15 ways to satisfy tech people or tech savvy people in your church. 15 ways.
Tech-oriented people, huh?
Tech-oriented people, or even maybe not tech-oriented people. We'll get to that in a moment or so. But I mean, look, the bottom line is this. Worship is more than just sitting in a pew, right?
Exactly.
And so, connecting to God happens really anywhere. It can happen anywhere. It can happen in your car. It can happen in your home, in your knees, on your knees, whatever. And so technology really gives you lots of gifts and tools to engage and engage in your spiritual walk, engage with people from your fellowship, from your church. And so we're talking about outside of the traditional service here, although technology can be inside your traditional service.
Some of this is in the service too.
Yeah, it's both ways. And so a little stat here, Americans, according to this stat from Pew Research, it's Pew Forum on Religious and Personal Life Research. This stat says that Americans ages 18 to 29 are considerably less active in organized religion than their older counterparts, which I think we know that. But what may surprise you and I is that these millennials consider themselves traditional in their religious beliefs. So kind of interesting there. And so, combine that information with the fact that millennials are more enthusiastic when it comes to embracing technology, generally speaking, and all those communication things. And so I think it's advantageous for us who are involved in our church, either as pastors, associate pastors, tech people, or volunteers, whatever you do at your church. If you like your church and you love your church, it's advantageous for us to maybe consider some tech things that would enhance what you're trying to do.
Right. So, and the old rule is you attract who you are, and if you can implement some most desirable demographic in the church is these 18 to 29-year-old young family, early 30 kind of people. I don't know.
Some might say 30s and 40s, but I mean, there's lots of different ideas on that, but you're trying to reach people, hopefully, and most would say, yeah, I want to reach younger people. So
right.
Most would say that, but you do have an older generation. I'm sure many of our people listening say, hey, I got people. I talked to one of our customers at streamingchurch.tv, and he said the average mean age is like 68 at my church, he was saying. And I'm like, okay, well, and that's common. I mean, older people, but you can still use some of this stuff that we're going to talk about with older, mature people.
Yeah. It's interesting seeing, I'm, getting to be there, but, seeing these, 70, 80, 90-year-old people on their cell phone, sitting in a restaurant and they're like,
absolutely
doing what the 18-year-olds, they both have their face in their cell phones.
Yeah. Here you go. All right. Well, yeah. So let's just jump into it here. And some of this stuff, we got a list of them here, and we'll just go very quickly through them. But some of this is, people are going to be listening and going, that's a no-brainer. We already got that. Okay, fine. But there's some churches that might not, and there's some other things that you may get a little a tidbit here that might be like, oh wow, we should do that. So it'll be worth the cost of this podcast.
Yes.
Which is free anyhow. But yeah, so there you have it. Worth the price.
So we got 15 or more tech tips
or more, depending on how we go,
to satisfy your tech savvy person.
Yeah. There we go. So let's jump into it now that we've.
So the first one is overhead projectors and transparencies.
Yeah, exactly. You should have those. No, actually, the first church I started, that's what we used, and it was 2000, year 2000. We're kind of behind, but anyhow. So
no, that's not on the list.
Not what you want to do. I mean, I'm sure there's people that still have that, but no. So
but number one on our list is related to that. So that's presentation software.
Presentation software. So look, a lot of people were on the cutting edge when they used PowerPoint, and you could still use PowerPoint, but there's things like Proclaim. What's another one? Pro Presenters, my church uses.
Easy Worship.
Shout, Easy Worship. Video Psalm is one I think I've heard of. And you know, the software, you know, you have projectors, or at least one projector, and you have a computer that has this software, and you can put videos on it, and you can put images and graphics and text and all that stuff. So if you don't have that, or if you have it, you might want to consider upgrading it. You know, presentation software, I think, makes a lot of sense in any service that you have.
Right. Okay. And you're going to get the cool, I mean, you know, one of the real common ones that I see and we have at our church is the moving backgrounds for the song lyrics and things like that. It just looks really good.
It spices things up a little bit, and you know, it just adds to it. And again, you know, newer people, you know, it's kind of nice little touch there. So I wouldn't rule it out. I would seriously consider, and if you have it, maybe upgrade it to like what you just mentioned. You know, there's some background stuff you can load that so it looks even a little fancy, but not overkill. I think it looks really good. It's very complimentary to what you're trying to do. So, all right. So second one.
Consider e-bulletins.
Consider e-bulletins. This one, I'm not sure how this is catching on. I would love to see this at my church, but we're not there yet. But e-bulletins, electronic bulletins. So what we're talking about here is content that you can use, that people can get either when they walk in the building, they can download it, they can connect to a link maybe that has it, or you can send it out in advance. And it's just, again, instead of having, you know, paper bulletins or whatever all the time, or maybe you do both and phase out, you know, the paper and save a tree or something, you know. I mean,
our churches, they were just introducing last week that we're going to be phasing out the paper bulletins. So good.
I keep me up to date on that, because I'm going to see how you guys do that, how you phase it out and what you guys use.
Yeah. So, well, they're moving towards mobile app. So they could.
Yeah, it's an expense, and we'll talk about mobile apps as another thing here in a moment. But
yeah, a lot of this stuff will fit into a mobile app. So several of these that we talk about would be a part of a mobile app. So e-bulletins would be one of them.
E-bulletins. Another one would be mobile connection cards. And I use the word connection card because that's what my group calls it. My church calls it a connection card, but you could call it a communication card. It's just something that, you know, normally, hopefully you have something, or if you don't, you should have one where when people walk in your door, whether they're regular attenders or new people, they get a card. It can be the simpler, the better. When I say simple, less stuff to fill out, the better.
Right.
You know, maybe just their name, their email address, you know, maybe a phone number, maybe, and something, maybe, you know, if they want more information on the church or they want to get involved in something. I would keep it very simple. I've seen cards, connection cards, that, you know, it's like a huge list, and it's just like many people won't fill it out because it's too overwhelming.
Right. So, and shameless plug for Church App Live is you just show up, open the app, click the check-in button, and it shows you all your info for you pre-filled out, and you can update anything that's wrong and just hit, I was here, and that turns in your connection card. So anyway,
Church App Live is a product we have, and you can Google that, churchapplive.com.
Shameless plug. So yes, so connection cards, number 4 on our list.
Number 4, create your own movies. So I thought about this the other day. I thought, you know, it's so easy now to do your own little movie. So if you want to promote something that's going on in your church, you can there's free software out there. I mean, I guess Movie Maker is still out there. That was Windows had Movie Makers years ago. I still have it on my computer. You can do things. I mean, now that, you know, mobile phones and movies, and you can do stuff, video with your mobile phone, and you could dump it into something like Movie Maker, or what's Apple have? iMovie? Yes. I don't know. And there's other stuff out there. Some of it's free, some of it you pay for. but you could literally put together a short little movie that would demonstrate something if you want to promote your youth ministry or promote your children's area, maybe promote a series that's coming up.
And testimonials are really powerful.
Exactly, and so it's really, some of that stuff's pretty easy to use now, and so you could get a volunteer that's kind of tech savvy to get a testimony from somebody, record a baptism and put something together, promote whatever it is you're doing. You could put together a little 3-minute movie, or something. It's just easy to do, and then you can put links to it on your websites and mobile apps and all that stuff. So create your own movies.
And you'll go viral on YouTube.
Exactly.
All right, so moving on here, number 5.
Number 5 would be, and this is a no-brainer, and against nothing new as far as notes in advance or later. So what I'm getting at is, you got a mailing list, email list. If your pastor has got his or her stuff together sooner than later, you could send them, hey, we're going to be talking about how to create more margin in your life and have less stress. And here's 4 points that we're going to talk about this Sunday. You could send that out there to people. Say, hey, come and bring a friend and learn about these 4 points that will, help your life, Or if you have somebody I work with that is always doing everything at the last minute, you could still send those notes out later after the message and say, hey, this is what we talked about. So number one, if you were there, here's what we talked about, and this help you go deeper. Or if you weren't there, here's what we talked about, So again, sending your notes out either earlier, before the service, or after the service sometime in the week, you could do that. MailChimp, speaking of email stuff, you ought to be using MailChimp, and this is probably part of all these things we're talking about here. I didn't give it a number, but you could do this through MailChimp. MailChimp, you can use it for free. If you have a really big list, you pay something for it, but you can do a lot of stuff. You can send out your newsletter using MailChimp. I know there's Constant Contact is out there.
Constant Contact is another.
There's other ones out there as well.
Or shameless plug, MyFlux integrated with MailChimp. So
that's right. Our company, MyFlock, one of our products, you can use MailChimp by using that. So
moving on here. Number 6 on our list.
Number 6 or number 7, depending on what you count MailChimp. Walkthrough videos is the next one. Walkthrough videos. Now this is something you, Steve Lacy, was very on the cutting edge of. Probably over 20 years ago.
I'm always way ahead of my time.
You're way ahead of your time.
Creating these things and that is completely useless. Then I have to wait 10, 15 years. And go, hey, that was a good idea. How come you didn't do that some more?
Yeah, other people have done it like Facebook, and now they're millionaires or billionaires, and you're not. But anyhow, so I remember you and I did a little walkthrough video at the church we were both at, and I guess I was in it. And I saw it. You showed it to me like a year ago or something. And
yes,
I looked a little different. Not much different, but a little different. And we did a walkthrough. It was one of these deals where, hey, welcome, the church is alive.
Yeah, we did a little mock thing where I'm walking through the front door, and you I'm holding the camera. You came up and shook my hand, and then you took me around and said, well, here's the children's area. Here's where the youth is. Here's the worship band.
Yeah, and it was one of those things, the camera was following me around, which, MTV kind of started to do that, I think before we did, or maybe they saw it and then they started doing it. But
it could be probably.
It was one of those things, and you see it all the time now, in The Office and all these different shows where they have the camera, it's kind of moving, and that's what we were doing, and we were giving people a walkthrough of the church. Hey, here's where like you just said, here's where the kids are, here's where the bathrooms are.
And the idea was just use it as, we were creating it as some marketing material or just some new visitor kind of thing. It'd be great for your new visitor on your website. Put that video there. Yeah,
you should probably do it again for your church. I'll do it as well. I don't go there anymore. They'll be like, wait, who is that guy? So all right. So walkthrough videos. Consider it. Consider something for your church walkthrough videos. Number 7 or number 8 or whatever it is. Create a technology team. Now these are in no order that we're talking about here. So I just randomly came up with that, but I thought, you know what, if some of you are listening to this and you go, these are great ideas, but I don't have the time to do it. Well, see if you can fish around a little bit and find out if you got two or
Grab
three
one of
people.
those 18 to 29-year-olds, huh?
Yeah, if you happen to have one, or even if you don't, even if somebody's a little older, you know, the chances are there's somebody in your church that likes technology, and they might be 65 years old. But you know, grab one or two of these people that might be interested and help, you know, help them like create a little team, and they can do some of these things so that you don't have to do it all.
Right.
Technology team, I think, is a good idea. Plus, it helps, you know, creative juices flow and all that. All right. So
number 8.
Number 8 or number 9. So get social. That's the next one here. Get social. And that is a wide brush here. But that means if you don't have a Facebook page for your church, you should create a Facebook page. There's other platforms out there. You should probably have a Twitter account. I know you might not think it's important. Instagram is the latest thing. In fact, speaking of Instagram, you could do even Instagram video now. Instagram gives you the ability to do like 15-second videos. So you could create an Instagram page, and you could do little videos like maybe you know, what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, you need to be where your people are. So
yeah, and again, the beauty of having something like Twitter or Facebook is you can retweet some of the sermon points. In fact, I see this all the time. The people that are on my feed, they'll be at one of their churches, and they will retweet or even post on their Facebook page like 2 or 3 points that they just heard from the sermon, you know, and it's like, oh yeah, that's a good thought. I hadn't thought about that, you know. So social, get more involved in the social thing, and again, maybe a technology team would be helpful to do that. So all right,
next on our list.
So the next one is anybody ever hear of Spotify? So Spotify is this online music thing, which is, I actually subscribe to it, and I love it because you can listen to all sorts of music on your mobile device using Spotify. Pandora is another one. There's other ones out there as well, but Spotify, you can create like a list. You can create, and in this case, for churches, you could create a worship set list and have it on Spotify. And then, you know, you could get your people from your church to like follow you on Spotify and keep up with your list of music. So if your church, most churches will do, I mean, there are churches that do original music, or maybe they do an original song or two in a set list. But a lot of churches will do stuff that's, you know, from Hillsong or, you know, the different artists that are out there.
I recently heard the top 10 songs played in churches, and it was like, wow, that's everything that we play at our church. So
yeah, there you go. So and you know, there's these original artists that have music on Spotify. So I don't know who are these guys, Chris Tomlin, and you know, Hillsong has all sorts of people out there. Right. So you know, it may not be your band from your church doing it, but it would be a list of the songs you did.
Yeah, you share it with your congregation, and they're listening to it as they mill about their day.
Yeah, exactly. And especially if you're going to do a new song, you know, you could have it on there and they could hear the new song, and then your band could do it or whatever, or your choir could do it. So share a worship set list on Spotify. So the other one, as we move on here through our little list, number 10, if you're keeping score at home, revamp your website. Now, I know this is a no-brainer, and I know we've talked about this a lot, but here's the deal. You should revamp your website probably every year. At least make some kind of changes to it. Give it a fresh look every year, or at least every 2 years. It's nothing worse. And I realize that new people may not have seen your website before, and so who cares if it's 5 years old? But make sure the content is up to date. And honestly, people do go to websites multiple times, even new people. So they might check you out, and then a year from now check you out again. And
it's your front door to the service, so for new people. So
it is, absolutely. So
all right,
so keep that up. I know there's people listening to this going right now going, oh yeah, I forgot we need to do that. So I hate my website, but that's another story. Number 11, if you're keeping score at home, use electronic giving. And what we mean by you can use things like PayPal. There's other companies out there like EasyTithe that are more church-oriented. What else? There's other things out there where people can give online. Go to your website, go to your mobile app, or you can post links on your Facebook page And all these companies have secure
Right,
websites, and it makes it easy for people to give. You want to make it as easy as possible for people to give. And I know I've told you this before, but when we started using PayPal at my church and put it on our website and our mobile app, our giving went up something like 25%.
really? Wow.
It went up.
And I know, yeah, I mean, this kind of ties into the next one as well, and the electronic giving, but we had a six-figure donation from an online guest.
I remember that very well. I was on staff at the time, and I know I should have gotten 10% of that, but the church would not give me a cut of that. I'm being facetious here, but yeah. So I mean,
it was someone that attended our live stream. So that's the next on our list here is stream your services.
Yeah, stream your services. No brainer, of course. Again, shameless plug. Streamingchurch.tv. That's us. But there's other things you could do. You could use YouTube to stream. You could use Vimeo. You could stream the Facebook. There's some of those services are a little problematic. You may run into issues with copyrighted material, even if it's valid. You still could have a problem maybe with YouTube or Facebook. But using a company like ours, you won't have that problem. But there's all sorts of outlets out there now, and also post your archives. So you've streamed live, record it, and then you can put it up later. We have a media vault that we give people to use. You could put it on YouTube. You could put it somewhere else. And again, it has mileage, and we've talked about this a lot, so we won't beat this thing.
All right, so let's move on. We got 3 more, right? Maybe
3 or 4.
4 more.
Yeah,
all right.
That just depends on how. So here's one that's kind of falls into this category we were talking about earlier, because you were saying, it's older people. Well, older people do like technology. Many of them do. So hey, why not offer a technology class? I mean, come on. You might get some volunteers that come out of it. Get somebody that has a little bit of an understanding of some of these things we've talked about, and offer a class at your church. Why not?
All right. I know that one of our pastors from a long time ago had a classroom set up in his church, one of the rooms, and he did both online Bible training kind of things as well, but he would also do technology training where people bring in and everybody gets in front of the computer and he'd teach a lesson on how to use that computer. So
yeah, and as we've said at the beginning of this podcast, I mean, go to where the people are, and people are using technology, so learn it. So and it'd be a great way to again facilitate some connection in your church. So technology class. All right, 14 on our list that we're not sure what number it is, but we'll say 14 or 15. Online Bible. You ought to have an online Bible out there somewhere on your website. We have a chat platform for streamingchurch.tv that uses YouVersion. YouVersion is an online Bible software.
Yes,
it's on the cloud.
They've pretty much taken over the world here in the online Bible space.
But there's other ones out there. I mean, there's stuff like Gateway or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Well, there's different stuff you can use. It's not just YouVersion, and they'd like you to believe they're the only ones, but they're not. And there's other ones out there. And, make it easy for people to follow along in your sermon. They can pull up an online Bible and check their Facebook page, and nobody knows the difference. No, I'm just kidding. But online Bible is certainly important and
all right.
Use.
And number 15 on our list.
Online prayer requests. You really ought to make an opportunity so people put it on your website. Do whatever you can so that people can post a prayer request and they can do it online. And you can make it so that it's private. Or like what we have in one of our platforms, MyFlock, we actually have a prayer board, so people can post their prayer request, and people that are members of the prayer team can pray for somebody. Again, just gives an opportunity for people to reach out and connect and pray with people. And then the other one is that I put on here, which I don't think you had this, Steve, on your list, because I sent it to you before, or after I sent it to you before I put this one on it, and we've mentioned it off and on now, and that is a mobile app. Church mobile apps, I still think they're good, because the person can walk in, open up the app, and everything is there on the app. They don't have to go browsing through, I got to find this, got to find that. They can just pull up the app. and they can give online with the app. They can check in, as you said. They can see the Twitter feeds, the Facebook. They can watch the live stream. They can watch an archive.
They can they can reply to prayer requests. They can, you can pull up your Bible. You can do all these things. So, yeah.
I mean, it's something to consider. And as fate would have it, we actually have a mobile app called churchapplive.com that we mentioned earlier. It's one of the products that we have. And it's really pretty easy to set up. And you could, it's not very expensive at all. You could even have it branded in the App Store. And so a lot of possibilities here. And there's probably more to add to this list. But these are some things that hopefully will, entice you a little bit to consider some of these things and maybe add them to your church and help you reach more people and connect with more people. So there you have it.
Sounds great. And if you need any help with any of these, let us know. We can definitely help you every step of the way.
Yeah, we certainly can. That's what we do. We love helping churches and ministries use technology. Reach out to us by sending us an email, support@streamingchurch.tv, or you can catch us on one of those domains like streamingchurch.tv or churchapplive.com or myflock.com. There's other ones out there, but we would love to hear from you, see what you think about this list. Maybe you have something to add to it, maybe something to detract from it. Your feedback is always appreciated.
All right. Sounds great.
All right, Steve. So thank you for spending some time with us today. And thank you for listening to this Church Solutions podcast. We sure appreciate you. And we will catch you next time on another edition of the Church Solutions podcast. I'm Phil Thompson. Have yourself a great day.